Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on Friday, June 17th at 16:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. Like a moth to the flame, and I should know better, but nonetheless, sometimes one just must speak the truth in peace and love. Speak the truth in peace and love. Said he with his glasses all cockeyed, but that's just the way they are, and that's the way I see. So, now I've been watching a fellow actually over the last couple of years, probably more than that actually. He calls himself Stantastical, and I will leave a link to his channel and this particular video, to which I will address below, obviously, in the interest of intellectual honesty. And I am a firm respecter and advocate of intellectual honesty, even if it's of a position with which one disagrees. And he's a gay fellow, as I am. And he's originally from Southern California, and then he's going to graduate school out in, I think it's North Carolina State, but it might be University of North Carolina. Anyway, it's in North Carolina. I don't know his field. All of this stuff is worth listening to and fun. Well, worth listening to. A lot of it's fun. And I'll print his channel name for you, but it's I am in the standard uppercase I, lowercase am, Stan, capital S-T-A-N, and then tastical. I mean, I'll print it for you. In any case, he did a piece today about the relatively, well, as some people perceive it, relatively easy availability of firearms in the United States. Now, I get the impression, although I can't speak to this, I get the impression he's not had much firearms training one way or the other. And it started off with the main objection about the AR-15 style rifles that were used, or rifle that was used in this Orlando shooting. And then the easy availability of such guns. Now, my understanding is the guy that shot these people bought the gun in an actual, in a gun store. He didn't buy it online and all that. First of all, I mean, if you watch his piece about buying guns online, there are a lot of little ifs, ands, or buts that might intervene. I'll read you my comment, fairly extensive comment, to his video here in a moment. But my major point is, I think a lot of this opposition to this stuff is, one, they think semi-automatic rifles are automatic weapons. They're not automatic weapons. You have to pull the trigger each shot. Now, admittedly, you can get off a lot of rounds in a short amount of time. And that's what they're designed to do. A lot of people don't like the way they look. I mean, I think I don't like the way they look. I don't find them as, a lot of firearms. I'm very big on owning firearms and shooting firearms, but a lot of it's about aesthetics with me. Well, functionality too, of course, but aesthetics. I'm more a long-range, single-shot, rifle handgun type of guy. You know, I mean, I've never been in the military. I have a great deal of respect and admiration for those who have been and paid the price. You know, and obviously they had to use these kinds of tools, weapons. But, you know, for my enjoyment and self-defense, that's not what I'm looking for. And believe you me, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's about having an armed citizenry that you know, in extremis, certainly at the time the Constitution was written, could withstand a government, you know, dictatorial government, tyrannical government. Admittedly, technologically, that may not be quite the case now. In any case, I'll read you this. I'll read you my reply to this guy, and it'll become clear what we said. You know, his piece is called "Shopping for Guns Online. Fuck the NRA." Well, I'm a life member of the NRA, but I'm sort of, you know, I view the NRA as being kind of wet on a lot of these issues. You know, my views are more congruent with the Gun Owners of America position. In any case, let's read my remark. Well, he started off by saying, well, early on he started by saying that he doesn't know the facts, but he's trying to make a point. And so then I started off by saying, but Stan, the facts should matter if you are trying to make a point. I take it you have not grown up around firearms or had much experience in training or handling them. I may be completely wrong there. Large segments of the flyover part of the United States have had such training. Leaving aside the constitutional arguments and discussion, I think a lot of this is based on aesthetics. Well, certainly some of it's based on aesthetics. AR-15 style looking rifles do not appeal to many people. They do not appeal to me. I find them to be ugly. I have never wished to own or use one, although I do have a 223. I have actually two 223 caliber semi-automatic rifles, but not of the AR-15 variety or AR-15 style variety. I am more a single-shot, long-range target shooter, handgun / falling block rifle sort of guy, or a bolt-action rifle sort of guy. Although generally they're not single-shot. Along with hand-loading my own ammo for best on-target rounds. Although I haven't done that since the Clarence Thomas hearings, I think in 1993. 94, 91 maybe. Down in the basement. I would never buy a gun online. You know, he was looking online to buy guns, and you know, he was. But of course, then he, in the last half of his video, or last portion of his video, he did address the federal firearms licensee requirement to have it shipped to a federal firearms licensee. So he was honest about that. Well, he's basically an honest guy. I would never buy a gun online and then have it shipped to a firearms licensee with whom I did not have a previous long-standing relationship, let alone some stranger with whom I had no acquaintance, i.e. private sale over interstate lines, even if I travel to his or her state. He had mentioned some of these ads in like Craigslist type websites or something that said, you know, come drive to my place and I'll sell you this gun. You know, private sale. So I'll read the complete sentence again. I would never buy a gun online and have it shipped to a firearms licensee with whom I did not have a previous long-standing relationship, let alone some stranger with whom I had no acquaintance, i.e. a private sale over interstate lines, even if I travel to his or her state. Previous to delivery to me. No, wrong. I think the reason we may have a high, although it's legal, I guess, I think the reason we may have a high murder rate, this gets down to personal ethics, doesn't it? I think the reason we may have a high murder rate is the fragmented sense of community and shared values which were, higher in the U.S., 1950s until mid-1980s, until the last 20 years or so have gone. Or have been. Have gone away. That's awkward. I need to change that. So much for diversity, even though we must make that work. Now it's everyone for themselves. Individual overboard. I didn't say man overboard. That's politically incorrect nowadays. Individual overboard. Fuck it. Ain't my problem. Even though I'm a life member of the NRA, I consider them a bit wet. Gun ownership is not about hunting. And believe you me, even though I've never wished to own one, getting a machine gun license will cost you upwards of $3,000 and then about $300 a year afterwards, and you give up your search warrant right should the feds come a-knocking. But as you pointed out, you were making a point. And now here's something that I've said repeatedly, but I am not advocating this. But nonetheless, it's a true statement. The only intellectually honest position with which I profoundly disagree, but which I can respect, is one has to advocate the complete repeal of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. That's the only intellectually honest position one can take on these gun control issues. The Orlando thing is our gay Pearl Harbor. Never again, never forget. But I said that in one of my videos here a day or so ago. So on that note, I will say bye-bye, YouTubers.